we'll just introduce ourselves real quick. I'm Jason Dunn, and
I'm Brian Lombard.
We write for Hybrid.
Two of you. Cool.
And, of course, we know who you are.
I'm not so sure myself.
Well, since we're on a very regimented schedule, I will start off right away. And we're going to ask you some questions about your movie, Everyone Stares. My first question is, who is this movie for? Would you say it's more for fans exclusively, or can, like, the regular public get...
Well, primarily it started out as for Andy and Sting.
Oh, it did?
And the rest of the police crew. And for my kids.
But it was
It started out as a common or garden home movie. And it pretty much stayed that way in its final form. But, of course, I tweaked it and broadened it and professionalized it and tried to look for ways of making it interesting to people outside this tiny market slice. But that's pretty much what it is, because that's the footage that I have. I don't have footage that demonstrates the creative dynamic of the group or anything that would show what effect the band had on music in the 80s or any of this kind of analytical stuff that if it was somebody else making a documentary about a band would get into. What I have is all this extremely subjective footage. And so that's what the film has to be, is a first-person singular adventure where the viewer is a member of the band. And you're not learning so much about the band. What you're getting is the sensation of being in the band.
So they get a bit of what it's like to be a rock star.
Yeah.
Okay. Since you have gone on to many different careers since the police, looking back, is there anything that you would have done differently along the way, or even from your very beginning in the music industry?
I would have been nicer to Sting, I think.
Okay. Anything else, or?
Oh, there's all kinds of little mistakes, but I wouldn't go there.
Okay.
No, I've been very fortunate that whatever mistakes I've made, and I'm sure there are many, I seem to have been able to survive.
And you've done pretty well.
So in other words, any of those mistakes, sure they were mistakes and I may regret them, but the way life has turned out, maybe those mistakes were part of the important, the whys in the road, Maybe that mistake was the right path to go down.
I've got a question about kind of the creative mix of, say, Oysterhead when compared with the police, going into, as far as the creation of songs themselves.
Oh, yeah. Very diametrically opposite. Oysterhead is all about improvisation, and any structure there is merely a leaping off point, which hurls us into the unknown. The police is all about material, having songs and interpreting the songs and performing the song, and the center of it all is the song, and the music around it is decoration, which is artistically very rewarding. That's what all pop music is, and that's what most music is. You have a theme, a tune, or a song, and the music, the instruments, support that. Oysterhead, it's all about improvisation and exploration of the instruments together. Three guys just set the controls for the heart of the outer cosmos. And it's very liberating, in fact, to have an audience that appreciates this kind of thing. When we walked out in Bonnaroo, it was pretty amazing. We hadn't played together for 5 years. We rehearsed for a couple of days in Sausalito. Actually, at the Grateful Dead's rehearsal place, fittingly enough. And we spent the 2 days mostly goofing off and laughing and chuckling. That's sort of what we do in Oysterhead. And we go out there to Bonnaroo. Next day we're out there in front of 80,000 people, and we blast away for 2 hours, committing heinous crimes against stagecraft. 30% of the show was utterly superfluous. We're lost. We're looking at each other and say, anybody got any ideas? I mean, we're just, lost, adrift on stage in front of all those people until suddenly somebody gets an idea, we jump on something, and we're off and get to the races again. But those moments in between when we're gasping for air, you look out at the front rows, and that's the money for those kids out there who come to jam band concerts. That proves to them that this is real. It's never been played before. The band doesn't even know what's going to happen next. And that's sort of the thrill of it for them. When people came to a Police concert, they have a song that they've heard on the radio. That's what they want to hear. And we go out there on stage and give a great rendition of that song. Completely opposite.
So when the songs for the Grand Pecking Order started out maybe as a jam session and they just formed from there?
Yeah. On the album, many of the songs were brought to the band, and we hammed it up and made it Oysterhead. About half, perhaps, I'm just guessing now, were just jams, which we carved up in Pro Tools, and we found the best bits and kind of figured out a lyric to put over the top of it, and it's all kind of sprangled. Just putting material together because it sounds cool without too much of an eye on structure.
What has been the happiest or most satisfying stage of your career? Which of these different versions of Stewart Copeland has made you the happiest or most fulfilled?
Recording Regatta de Blanc and recording Rumblefish are the two from way back then. Since then, the Night of the Tarantula in Italy, putting up an opera in Cleveland.
So you have not so much like large stretches of it then, but like specific projects that were...
Specific projects that were just thrilling.
Okay.
Actually, those periods of my life, right now, is about as happiest I've ever been.
Well, that's always good.
Yeah. I mean, my boys are grown up. I'm extremely proud of my 4 boys who are all grown up and conquering the world. My girls are still young and cuddly. I've got 4 big boys out there. My scene runs riot across the land. And meanwhile, I've got 3 girls still at home who are growing up, and it's a wonderful thing.
And have you learned their names yet?
I can recite all of their names.
Okay, I read an interview in which you only could remember them by their ages.
Well, I usually refer to them as boy 1, girl 2, that sort of thing.
If you know what...
They're all called Bean, actually.
What's that?
They're all called Bean.
Bean?
Yeah.
Bean 1?
Bunny Rabbit Beans.
So I got an actual drumming question for you. I've been an amateur drummer since I was a little kid, and I just was interested in your use of traditional grip and where that might have originated for you when you were younger. Is there an advantage there, or how did you...
Well, I'm the youngest of 4 children, and my father was he was a musician and an avid music fan as well. He played trumpet. He was disappointed as his children came by, and he'd thrust musical instruments into their hands, and they wouldn't take. Until the last kid came along. By the time I came along, the house was full of abandoned musical instruments. And I picked up all of them and was immediately, from earliest memory, banging, blowing, twanging, plucking, whatever. And he leapt on that, immediately started sending me to lessons for every kind of music lesson you can imagine. I think the first I can remember is trombone, But, so I had all this stuff, and then eventually I sort of gravitated towards the drums and immediately was up the wazoo with drum lessons. So the orthodox grip comes from an extremely conventional training from a very, very early age.
Right, okay.
And also, I still believe that it's more efficient.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess I just, since I didn't go through the lesson part first. I was just given a drum set when I was very young, and picked up the sticks, and the match grip just seemed to work better for me being a little kid without the lessons.
Well, of course it does, because you didn't have a teacher smacking your wrist away. But actually, it doesn't seem to make that much difference. There are great players of both kinds. The people sometimes say, how can you get so much power out of the snare drum with the orthodox grip? Isn't that for jazz wimps? And the answer is that actually, if you examine the musculature and the mechanics of the wrist and the thumb and everything, you'll realize that you actually get the thumb is your strongest finger, and with orthodox grip, it's the thumb that brings the hammer down.
Right.
If you get a pencil and hold it in your hand and press down on a table, orthodox grip, you can get so many pounds of pressure. If you put that pencil under your thumb and press down, if you hold it matched grip, you're only going to get so much power. If you use your thumb, you get much more.
Right. It seems to be going in the right direction with the thumb up top and the traditional versus the matched. It's just not going in the right direction.
I beg your pardon?
It just doesn't seem to be going in the right direction with the matched grip, like you said, with the thumb, force from the thumb.
Yeah, that's just the way the hand works, I guess.
Right.
I had read recently that you have another film project coming up. Do you see yourself more and more as becoming a filmmaker? And if you are, do you think you'll be the kind who scores his own films, like John Carpenter has done? Or do you still consider yourself primarily a rock musician who has turned film composer like Denny?
I don't know what I am. I'm an artist. And all of the multifarious angles that an artist can get into. Primarily music, that seems to be my real gift. With this movie, I was very fortunate to have this incredible material to play with. Whether or not I have a gift as a director, I don't know. I mean, I love my work. I think it's really cool. I'm very proud of all my little, the pacing of the film, the way the film's put together, the little dissolves, the little arty moments that I've slipped in here, and I'm real pleased with it, But I don't, the thing that I'm sure that I've got as a gift is the music thing.